Welcome to Back Pick. This is a baseball show. I'm Kramer Sanso. If you haven't done so, like the video. I know it's really soon. Like the video, subscribe, enter the giveaway in the description and down below. Baseball right now is actually fantastic. It's fun to watch. There's a lot of things. Hey, the Cardinals are back in action. Are the A's that real? Who's the best AL NL team? We'll get to all of that in this edition of Back Pick, but let's just go on for the biggest topic, the things that people like to watch, they like to see the entire time, is home runs. And right now, I have a feeling, a big feeling, that the ball's carrying a lot more. Right now, 763 home runs have been hit in Major League Baseball currently. I know last year there was 6,776 home runs, but I feel like the ball's getting out quicker. I don't know if it's because it's just a different type of year. We're starting in the middle months of the summer, so the ball might be carrying like per usual around towards the middle parts of August or the early parts, or as we head closer to September, the weather's changing, so we might see a little bit of decline in home runs. I honestly don't feel like that's happening, but I feel like with no fans right now in the stands, brings out more home run pop, I guess. You would, with less people there, the ball carries more, I assume. Maybe with people in the stands, the wind isn't really going through that much. I know we've all been to a baseball park where we've sat in the stadium and it's just, there's nothing. Like, it's just dead heat. There's no breeze whatsoever because I don't know if there's a lot of people around that's blocking the wind, or if it's just a different type of year. Like, no fans there right now, the ball's carrying like, you know what. We just saw yesterday with Jose Abreu, part of that 4 home runs consecutively by the White Sox. That ball was on a line out of there, and it just wrapped around the foul pole for a home run. Like, we're seeing a lot of line drive home runs, that end up being monster shots, which we've seen that a lot. The ball's carrying a lot more. What is up with the Oakland Athletics hitting grand slams and hitting moonshots? Look at Mike Yastrzemski hitting 2 home runs already into the drink out there, and oh my gosh, McCovey Cove. Almost called it the Allegheny River, but that's in Pittsburgh. We're seeing a lot of home runs being hit further than what we have seen. Granted, we always see that in Colorado. They always hit monster bombs out there because of the thin air. But imagine what we're going to see here a little bit later on this month by the Rockies hitting home runs that could go even further since there's no fans there, if that's even the case. There's got to be some type of study out there that's showing that fans in the stands are not, or if they're there, there's no furthering a distance of home runs. There might be a surplus of home runs, but we're seeing a tremendous amount of surplus right now in home runs. It's ridiculous. 763, that's only going to go up. I wouldn't be surprised we're almost halfway through the season. We're already, I think, a quarter of the way already. We're going to see, I say 2,000 home runs. Maybe we get to 3,000. If we get to 3,000 home runs in a 60-game season, that right there shows the fans make an impact on whether how far the ball travels, or if we just hit home runs, or everybody's just squaring everything up. But we saw in the first couple of weeks of the season, the pitchers were out-dueling the hitters, and now we're starting to see the hitters bring it back up. I mean, it sucks for the St. Louis Cardinals only playing, 6 games already, 7 games. So we're not seeing a big impact from them. But we're going to see, of course, a little decline because they had a couple weeks off of not playing. But with those teams that have already dead set, let's look at the Dodgers. They're just hitting them like crazy. The Angels are hitting them like crazy. So it might just be – plus, Dodgers and Angels, they're notoriously home run hitting teams, but where they're played at in L.A., the ball really doesn't carry that much. So there you go. That, I honestly think we proved the fact that with no fans in the stands, the ball carries more because they're not blocking. There's less people blocking wind flow from that ball getting that backspin, sending it out and over the wall at said parks. So I think the ball is carrying more. It's carrying a lot more. Let me know what you guys think if the ball is carrying a lot more or not. But right now, who is the best team in the AL and the best team in the NL? So what we've seen power rankings-wise, the Dodgers, really good. They got the pitching, they got the hitting. Mookie Betts has struck fire, hit 3 home runs earlier this week in 1 game. So I would have to say the Dodgers are the best team right now in the NL. If it's not for them, it might be the Chicago Cubs. I hate saying it. Pains me saying the Chicago Cubs are a good team, but they are a good hitting team. Pitching, the pitching's good. Starting pitching is good, but what they do not have is bullpen. So later on this month, August is the final month of trades. We might see the Cubs try to maneuver that bullpen a little bit more to make it more suitable for a playoff contending team. Because remember, top 2 teams per division will make the postseason. So Cubs are going to have to, finagle that a little bit to adjust. But yeah, right now the NL is compromised of the Dodgers and the Cubs being the 2 best teams there. If we want to go to the American League, I think the A's are the hottest team right now. Well, they are the hottest team right now. Then after that's the New York Yankees. Yankees have they power through everything. Granted, Stanton's on the IL. We see Aaron Judge just hit the IL, but they still have bats that step up and hit bombs. But honestly, anybody can hit a home run at Yankee Stadium. Anybody. It's a little shallow, little park, if you know what I mean. But yeah, the Yankees and the A's are the AL team to beat right now, I feel like. Now there poses that question, are the Athletics for real? After I'm saying it, they're the best team in the AL. I would like to say they are. They have everything put together. From seeing 5 of their bullpen, from pieces in the bullpen, only 2 earned runs have been given up by Liam Hendricks, who's their closer, and those 2 runs came off of opening day. And that's just like for their bullpen's a Shark Tank right now. I remember when the Shark Tank bullpen was around with the Pittsburgh Pirates back in the early 2010s. Now we're starting to see it transition a little bit. The A's have a very good bullpen. They have a very good hitting approach. They are gritty. They're grinders. I mean, we've seen Steven Piscotty now have shown insurgence of hitting home runs and grand slams. We've seen the fiery aspect of Ramon Laureano going and attacking Houston Astros players because of what they said to him. There's just something about grit and grind about these A's that, I mean, there's a reason why they were on a 9-game winning streak. They are 16-6 currently. This is a team that is poised and is built to get on base, of course, with their little money ball system. If they're even doing that right now, or if it's just the fact that they've hit on almost every single draft almost, or signing people. Like Matt Chapman's a stud. He's a great defensive third baseman. Matt Olsman is a stud. He's a great defensive first baseman. They're brought on by defense, and the hitting comes around at times. Like Robbie Grossman, a great defensive outfielder who's starting to show a power surge, and he platoons. There's just almost everybody on this team is just brought together to one. Everybody forgets Marcus Semien finished 3rd in MVP voting last year. Granted, he didn't start off that great this year so far, but he's turning it around. He's still that guy that can come in at big moments and still smack one out of the park or get that clutch single if they need it. The A's right now, their pitching staff might be the decisive, the little bit of a issue is their starting rotation, but once they get to the bullpen, they're fine. The A's are the team. They're for real. I think they are for real. If I'm asking that question to myself and to you, let me know if you guys think the Athletics are for real. I do. This A's team is really good. And you know what team that's not good at all? That's the team that decided to trade their MVP, one of their guys that helped them win the World Series, and Mookie Betts. The Boston Redsox, man. This team is completely terrible. I don't know if it's because everybody's opting out, everybody's hurt, they're trading away their pieces, they're just a complete cluster. You know what? The Red Sox are the worst team in baseball. The fact that they're the worst team behind the Baltimore Orioles, which they've actually started off hot, the Miami Marlins over there, they're first place in their division due to points, winning percentage. Red Sox are not good, and they're still hitting that injury bug. Andrew Benintendi just went down. He really didn't even start off hot this year. Rafael Devers has started off very slow. Xander Bogaerts has been consistently decent, but numbers are still trailing down. This is just a team that it's not there. Like, this is not their season whatsoever. And losing David Price, Mookie Betts, Eduardo Rodriguez, Chris Sale, now Andrew Benintendi. What's left? There's no pitching that can get them above the top, and right now, pitching is king. Pitching is king in the MLB. If you do not have the rotation, if you do not have that bullpen in a shortened season of 60 games, you are not going to last at all going into postseason when we're at the halfway point in the season. October is a month and a half away. If you do not have the keys to success right now, you are not going to make it far. And the fact there's only one more month left, and we know teams just like the St. Louis Cardinals need to make up so many games. There's Marlins still have to make up some of their games as well. There's no room for error in a shortened season because everybody's in it, And a team that's not in it is the Red Sox. Red Sox are looking terrible. They're not a good baseball team. They need to figure something out quick if they want to at least make it or scratch a wild card spot, one of the fourth wild card spots maybe. They are not a good baseball team. That's just flat and said done. And if this was even a 162-game season, they would still be a terrible baseball team. But we've seen this in years past with Boston. They'll make it to the postseason. They'll have one of the worst seasons of their career, of their years. The next season, they'll make it back to the postseason, and then it'll just go back and forth. We're seeing that right now with them, and it have happened during a COVID-shortened season. So it's just a trend. Will the Red Sox be good next year? Probably, because you'll have, hopefully, Eduardo Rodriguez will come back and fully healthy, and Chris Sale will be coming off his surgery once again. And hopefully the hitting's there. But right now, the Red Sox are not a good baseball team. They're just not. And let's just go keep it going on that not being so good right now. It's Jose Altuve, the Houston Astros. I believe with his numbers not good, striking out constantly. He started off at the 1, went to the 3rd. Now he's in the 7th hole of the Astros lineup. He's still striking out a lot, and I feel like it's a guilt for Jose Altuve. He's not looking like himself at all. His back leg's moving constantly. He's going down to a knee. He's swinging at pitches he would never usually swing at. And even when he was bringing those Astros to a World Series back in 2017, or trying to bring him back into even last year, he's not swinging the ball good at all. It takes a lot for a player to say, hey, I'm not doing well right now, so can you please, please, please do something for me? Move me down because I'm not helping my team out at all. It takes a lot from a player because being paid to play a kid's game and at a high level like Altuve has done, we're not seeing that anymore. We're not seeing that high level of play by Altuve anymore. So it's good to see the character from him. Granted, he's a cheater, and so is all of those Astros players who are cheaters, but he is able to say, hey, I'm not producing at all like I should. I still want to play, but don't put me at the leadoff spot. Everybody behind me is hitting like crazy, and I'm the guy that's bringing everybody down. So maybe a positional order change, changing the lineup might help. But we see it this yesterday. It didn't help at all. That Sunday did not help at all. So I think it's a guilt trip. I think it's all catching up. And at some point, it'll catch up to Alex Bregman. It'll catch up to George Springer. It'll catch up to all of them. Once a cheater, always a cheater. That's how it usually is. But Altuve is not looking good at all. Some oddity news. St. Louis Cardinals drove 41 cars from St. Louis to Chicago to take on the White Sox. And when they did that, they swept the doubleheader on Saturday. But on Sunday, Cardinals young pitcher making his Major League debut, Roel Ramirez, made his Major League debut and gave up 4 home runs. But the 4 home runs that were given up were from back to back to back to back. Yoel Moncada hit a 3-run shot. Yasmani Grandal hit a home run. The very next pitch, Jose Abreu hit a home run. Eloy Jimenez hit a home run, and then boom, done. I would think after that 3rd home run, I would have taken out Roel, but there's really not much you could do during a 7-inning game. But Roel, Major League debut, and that's 4 home runs, and that kind of brought me back to 2016, where this guy for the Cardinals named Mike Myers, no, not the Halloween character, but Mike Myers, the pitcher in Major League Baseball, I think he's in the Angels organization now, where he gave up 9 1 2/3 of an inning. Or no, 1 1/3 of an inning. Sorry, I gave him an extra out for not doing it. Against the Dodgers back in 2016. That was on ESPN too. I was watching that. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I seeing? I feel so bad for this kid. Everything's blowing up for him. His family's in attendance. You do not want that to happen, but luckily Roel's family wasn't in attendance, but they were at least watching, I feel like, and it's still not a good look and a good scene for the young pitcher for the Cardinals. But, I mean, if you're a Cardinals fan, you're used to something like this for happening with being blown up by people. But the fact that, let's just go back a little bit, though, on the Cardinals, and not looking back on Sunday's loss to the White Sox, but them driving 41 cars. That right there shows you that they're trying to make an impact. They're trying to slow this coronavirus. They're still trying to figure out who the heck or what the heck happened. Do I believe they went to the casino? No, I do not. Something had to happen. I feel like some player met with somebody. That person end up kind of giving it to that player. This could have been like as simple as going to a family member's house. That's how easy this thing spreads. And so they're going to have to keep cautious in the fact that they had to drive 41 cars, rental cars, not their own cars, rental cars from St. Louis to Chicago. Will they do that in their next series? I hope not. That'd be weird. They're playing Chicago Cubs, so they could, I guess, stay in Chicago unless they have to drive back to St. Louis. So you never know. But the 41 rental cars are going to be, I guess, working around the St. Louis Cardinals. This is a weird year, man. 60 games, COVID, rental cars for a team to get around. At least they didn't take a bus, 'cause that's like a petri dish for all COVID. So at least that happened. One more thing before we get to my MVP and NL talks, and then also the best teams per division, top 2 teams per division, is I really, really like this Buffalo ballpark for the Blue Jays. That ball's carrying. There's going to be at least somebody who's going to hit a home run. It's going to hit that highway. It's going to knock out a window or windshield of a car. And I feel like the first person who's going to do it is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. or Bo Bichette, because both those guys are tearing the cover off the baseball currently. So I would not be surprised if they're those. But it's kind of cool to see a different ballpark for once. Granted, they play at the Rogers Center. They probably should be still playing at the Rogers Center, but Toronto kicked them out. I don't know if it's because that's kind of like a left-handed hitter's dream, or the fact that the ball's just blowing out like crazy in Buffalo. But it's cool to see. There's people who are walking over or being like near the highway, because you can still see into the ballpark by advantage, like sloped up on a hill. You can see right in. So that's happening. So they're going to figure something out that way. But somebody's going to get hit by a baseball who's driving on that highway who doesn't even know there's a baseball game going, because I mean, granted, AAA, I don't know if that's actually happened before in their AAA games, that a baseball's been hit out there and hit a car, but at some point it's going to happen this year, because these are Major League, these are professional hitters, and then you can see the ball. See ball, hit balls, what they're taught to do, and they can do that really good if you're the Blue Jays. That's a home run hitting paradise team. You got Teoscar Hernandez, Travis Shaw, but he's lefty. Kevin Biggio, he's a lefty, though. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, those guys, they're studs. They're studs. They can hit the ball like crazy. So let's go to the top 2 MVPs. We're going to my top 2 section. Top 2 players in the AL right now that I think could be the MVP towards this end of the 60-game season. The first person that comes to mind, as always, comes to mind every single year, is Mike Trout of the Angels. The outfielder's a stud. Ever since he had his baby boy, he's been struck fire. Maybe that was bringing him like that mindset of saying, okay, I'm going to have a kid here soon, so Dad Trout has to take a little thing back, and once the birth happened as a healthy baby boy, boom, I'm just going to hit home runs crazy. 9 home runs currently, 19 RBIs. He's batting a .301. I know it's not the best batting average right now in Major League Baseball, but a .301 is respectable for this part of the season so far. 9 home runs, and 19 RBIs, but there's also a guy that has almost the same exact numbers as him, just a little bit lower batting average and at least 1 more RBI. Aaron Judge batting a .290, 9 home runs, 20 RBIs. It sucks for him because he had placed on the 10-day IL. So we can see his numbers probably skew a little bit since he's really not playing that much. No, his IL injury, I think it's his lower back. It's nothing to deal with COVID. So he'll at least make it back at some point. So Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, those are your 2 guys. Maybe if Aaron Judge was I think hit 7 straight games of hitting a home run. When he gets back, he's going to continue to do the exact same thing. It's a baby ballpark in New York, and that's the thing. He can hit it out of New York, but when his home runs are hit in New York, they are like 450, 460. This guy is a stud, and you need to at least put some credit on those home runs, because most of them are 450. Man, that's just ridiculous. But let's go to the NL. The guy who's a hitting machine right now is Charlie Blackmon. I know he was on a slump of 1 for 13 his past 4 games. But that brought his average down to, just think about this, that only brought his average down to a 446. This guy at one point in the season was batting .500 going already 20 games in. That's awesome. 3 home runs, though, 22 RBIs. He's at least getting on base, scoring runs, getting our runs in, too. So he's got to be a candidate to, okay, if he's batting a 446, if he bats 400 for the rest of the season, which hasn't been done in, I don't think, ever. But, I mean, for a 60-game season, that's still kind of impressive, but really not. If you played 162 and hasn't batted 400, say if you're Chipper Jones, you could try that, but, I mean, who knows. Mookie Betts is the other guy that comes to mind, batting at .314, 8 home runs, 19 RBIs. Granted, his 3 home runs came 3 of his home runs of the 8 came, I believe, either on Friday or Saturday, where he hit 3 home runs in one game. Incredible feat, something that players would always strive to do, is hit 3 or more home runs in a game. Mookie did it, so either Charlie Blackmon or Mookie Betts right now for the NL MVP. If I want to go look at average, though, Donovan Solano for the San Francisco Giants is batting, I believe, a .430 right now, and he's tearing the cover off the ball. So got to give credit to where credit's due, because Donovan Solano is still a stud hitter for the Giants. All right, let's go top 2 teams per division now. So we can wrap this bad boy up. Let's go to the AL East. We'll see the Yankees at 15-6 currently. The number 2 team is Rays at 14-9. It's kind of switched a little bit. The O's were at the number 2 spot from last week. But these are the 2 teams I think we're already starting to see things equal or even out for the AL East for it to be Yankees and Rays. Those are the top 2 teams in that division. Let's go to the AL Central, which is the toughest division right now. Currently, Twins at 14-8. The Tigers are at 13-9. Actually, no, it's not the Tigers at 13-9. The White Sox are at 13-9 currently. So it's a White Sox and Twins type race right now. So I believe that's who the top 2 teams are. The Tigers have dropped down to tie with the Kansas City Royals at last for the division, but the Indians are working their way up as well. Let's go to the AL West. Athletics are 16-6. Number 2 team is the Astros at 11-10. That's the top 2 teams there. Let's go to the NL East. Marlins are at 9-6 because of winning percentage. And the Braves, they played less games than the Braves. The Braves are 13-10 in those top 2 teams. The Nationals are showing us right now how they usually start off. They start off slow. That's what they do. They start off slow, and I think that's why the Nationals will not make postseason this year. It would not be so shocking. Excuse me, as I burp there. Very unprofessional. It would not be surprising if the Marlins do scratch that number 2 team. But if it's not, it's going to be the Braves and Phillies. Phillies are a stupidly tremendous ball team that can hit, but pitching hasn't came around. JT Realmuto is a stud. He keeps hitting home runs. Bryce Harper, as I can't state him, though, is a good baseball player. Andrew McCutchen. I think they have a couple of former MVPs on that team, which is amazing. Let's go to NL Central. Cubs are 13-6. They are the best team in the National League currently, if you're not the Dodgers. And the Brewers are 10-10. I got to see more Cardinals. Cardinals have only played 7 games, so we got to hold the brakes on the NL Central right now. Then finally NL West, the Dodgers are 16-7. And the Rockies at 13-8. Everybody's talking big about the Padres right now. I really don't see it that much. I think they're still a team that's just one step back. Their pitching staff has gotten a lot better. Just that bullpen is what concerns me, and the hitting is very inconsistent. You can only rely on a couple players if you're Fernando Tatis. Eric Hosmer's bats came alive a little bit more, but I can't say the Padres are the team to beat yet, but the Rockies and Dodgers are the good, solid 2 teams up there. But the Diamondbacks too. This NL West is usually a team that beats up on each other the entire time, so we'll have to figure that out that way. But that will do it here for Back Pick. Been Kramer Sansone. Like the video, have a good one.